Hello, Sasha Velour. My name is Joshua Mackey with Into. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much, Joshua. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be sitting down with you virtually today.
Yes, yes. I love this virtual chat we are having. I'm so excited to be talking with you. One of my favorite drag queens out there. But two, you got some exciting news. The big reveal, as we will call it. Your brand new, yes, come on, show up the brand new book.
With all the post-it notes sticking out of it. Got a lot of notes. Further thoughts.
And we love that. And we're here for those thoughts. All right. So now, obviously, there's so much that goes into a book. What was that process like going from book brainstorms to now publishing the big reveal?
Oh my gosh. It was even harder than putting together a drag show. And that is a lot of work. You got a lot of queens and kings to coordinate when you're doing a show, a lot of different practical concerns to worry about. For this book, it was all the same thing. I was trying to get in touch with hundreds of different people to get the image rights for some of these queens and kings of history that I wanted to show, and also trying to get the stories, researching, re-researching, editing, revising, and then weaving my own story into the mix because I knew this book needed to be a history of drag, a case for the radical art of drag and our the fact that we belong here as part of world culture, but also a story that only a drag queen herself could tell about how I came to discover it all and find myself through the process.
What do you think, if you can say, was the most heartfelt moment that you felt writing the big reveal?
Ooh, the most heartfelt moment. I do think writing about my grandmothers was really special to me. I was really trying to remember how I first realized that drag could be a thing, a fun way to express myself, and it took me back to my two grandmas, one an immigrant from a Jewish community in China and the other from Michigan in a kind of like conservative Christian community. But they both believed that people should have freedom to dress up and be fabulous. They both understood glamour and taught me about sequins and makeup and perfume. Um, and getting to think about them, that kind of started me on a journey thinking about the role of remembering our ancestors, people who are no longer here. But we've heard their stories. I've heard their stories, and it's one of my jobs to tell that and to share that with other people, to let other people get to know these amazing women. So I did that as well with my mom, who also is a femme inspiration who's no longer with us, and with all these drag icons who aren't here to tell their stories, whose stories are so relevant to these current discussions about what drag is, to this current moment of drag being so popular through RuPaul's Drag Race. But there's amazing drag in the past that we have to celebrate and uplift. So I wanted to bring those into the story, and feeling like haunted by these amazing spirits was really emotional, actually.
I love it. Are the spirits of drag in the room with us right now?
They're lifting their wigs and pulling their gloves off,
And are they?
trying to get some attention. You know how they do.
Well, listen, if those wigs and gloves are full of rose petals, they're definitely getting some attention. That's for sure.
Don't I know it?
And speaking about drag going into the mainstream, I mean, obviously you're no stranger to that being a winner of RuPaul's Drag Race. With drag being everywhere nowadays, what do you hope that the big reveal really teaches newcomers to the art form and community within drag?
I hope first of all that it shows people how intimately the art of drag has been linked with radical queer expression, with the protection of trans and non-binary people throughout time. Although there's always been an element of drag that's been part of mainstream culture that's detached from queer people, the best of the art form is stuff that we make within our community to create space and employment for queer and trans people, to advocate for laws and reforms in housing and medical care. Like drag creates a stage so that we can be loud on it in defense of our community. And we got to keep doing that. And I want people to see people continue that tradition specifically. But just knowing that this history is there, that it's already been the height of art, the height of comedy, the height of fashion, thanks to the work of so many people who came before, I think that gives us strength for today.
Oh, I definitely think it gives us strength. And I love that this book is literally going to teach not only about history, but create community for those who may not have it. They'll feel seen. And it's just a beautiful thing. And you're right, we have to continue to fight the good fight because there's so much anti-LGBTQ plus legislation, anti-drag legislation specifically. And I guess it's safe to say that the big reveal is an act of activism. Would you agree with that, Sasha?
I don't do anything without a message. It's like, I probably should, just some light, fluffy things, but there's always some agenda, there's so much to fight for. I think there's so much inequality to face. And I've always been a believer that you can shift people's expectations or understandings, or at least the frame of reference with through entertainment. And so this book is my case for the radical traditions of drag. I hope that this will speak to people. And I tried to write it. I'm such a harsh critic of myself. I read through this book pretending to be different people who might not agree with me, radical queer activists who aren't into drag, maybe really conservative voices who need to be convinced that drag is something that is artistic and positive for the world. And that was kind of dehumanizing at times to read my own words with a critic in mind, but I tried to make sure that this argument would stand up, and would last throughout different eras, because that's the book that we need right now. So I got to do it myself. I'm going to do it right.
It's a beautiful, beautiful testament to the history of drag and the folks who have just encouraged you to be so expressive and share your artistry with the world. So it's it's everything and then some for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I tried to make it fun too, because I know that's a heavy sounding task to, defend all of this art and all of our community. But I put in some, spilled tea and ridiculousness. And of course, the figures that came before are as diva-ish and ridiculous as us all. So it's fun to tell their stories, including my grandma's.
And I love it. And I can't wait for so many people to get a hold of these amazing stories. And when they do, what do you hope that they finally take away from reading The Big Reveal?
I hope that young queer people can see that it's normal to try drag, to be trans or non-binary. I hope that people can see that there's a good adult life possible for you, even if you do drag, even if that's your biggest dream, and the world doesn't necessarily have to be welcoming or accepting of that for you to have a good life and build community and make connections and have joy. And yeah, I hope that people see that drag is really has something to teach the world, that it's not just for gay people who love to scream and get together, although it's really good for that. It is a message about just about a way to structure community, a way to structure art that is inclusive, that invites people in who haven't had formal training. We tear down all the gatekeepers to make drag happen. All you have to have is a fantasy and enough commitment to carry it off, and you can have a starring spot in the drag show. And so little in this world works that way, that I think there's something special about our community that everyone could learn a lesson from.
From the author herself, Sasha. Look, they say reading is fundamental, and this is definitely a fundamental read. I'm so excited for our viewers and our readers of Into to get a hands of The Big Reveal. Sasha, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joshua. I really enjoyed talking to you. Thank you. Thanks so much for encouraging, spreading the word.
Yes.
Everyone got to get their hands on this.
That's right. Get your hands on The Big Reveal. Yes.
There she is. Padded, because anything is possible.